Do any of these lines sound familiar to you? Huh? That didn't happen. What? What are you talking about? All right. Okay. Well, have you ever thought about doing this? Maybe they were thinking about that. Well, what if we instead did the la 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 la? Or, sorry. Those are just a sample of the 5 communication killers that we're going to talk about today in this video. And as you can tell, they are on the listener's side of things. So if you want to learn how to be a better listener or help other people better listen to what you're feeling and needing, learn first about the 5 communication killers. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and welcome back. Welcome back to My 5 Minds. This is where you're learning about systems. That's systems with a P. And today we're looking at another interpersonal system. We're calling it the 5 communication killers. Now, I'm going to warn you, the first 2 may be a little bit obvious, but my hope is to give you some insight about where they come from and what they're about. And then the last 2, particularly the last one, should be a complete surprise, which makes it kind of fun. So let's start off. What are the 5 communication killers? And I want to emphasize that these 5 communication killers are on the listener side. I'm always teaching skills, and there's speaker skills and there's listener skills. And these 5 communication killers happen on the listener's end of things. So let's start. Number 1, communication killer. Defensiveness, right? You say something and I'm like, what? Wait, no, that is not what happened. Let me tell you what happened. And we start to get defensive. Now, where does that come from? Does that come from a bad or evil place in our heart? No. If you go back to our video that we showed a while back about guys aren't bad, men aren't bad, I think it's what it's called. What we focus on is that sometimes we have bad communication, true, but because we have different agendas, because we're focusing in different directions. And that's why we're not on the same page. Not that guys are bad listeners or bad communicators, but we're not on the same page. And that's definitely what's happening when you get defensive. In a defensive mode, where that is coming from a space where you're being basically told there's something wrong. And it's pretty easy to translate that as you're wrong. And so what do we want to do? We want to make it right. So we get into that classic right fight. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't move the conversation forward because instead of talking about the issues, the feelings, the frustrations, all we're talking about is the circumstances and who did what to who. So it's a communication killer. Second communication killer. Okay. All right. It's like learned helplessness. The person is learned that getting defensive and arguing and trying to make their point isn't going to go anywhere. So they kind of give up. They give up trying to communicate. And they take more of the opposite extreme, which is this passive response. Now, why is that a communication killer? Because you don't feel heard. You don't feel listened to. Tip for you guys. If your spouse says something more than twice, it's because they don't feel heard. They didn't feel heard the first time, so they say it again, a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, because they're not feeling heard. That's on you. Your passive response is giving them no feedback and making them feel frustrated, and they end up repeating themselves. 3. The third communication killer is fixing. A classic guy response. Oh, we got a problem? Well, let's fix that problem. Yes, let's make that right. What if we did this? What if you did that? Maybe you should have blah, blah, blah. Now why? Why is that, again, a communication killer? Well, it kind of goes back to the defensive thing, where the issue isn't about right and wrong. The issue isn't really even about the problem. The issue is about a lack of intimacy, a lack of connection. And your spouse is trying to connect, right? Isn't that the goal? And when we're fixing the problem, we're focusing on the male agenda. And we're not really focusing on the female agenda, which is having and building a relationship. So fixing, it may work, but it's not the point. The point is hurt, sorrow, fear, frustration. And they're trying to connect with you over those issues. Communication killer number 4. This may be a little bit of a surprise, but it goes something like this. Why do you feel like that? Well, what? Why is that bothering you? Asking questions. Please, guys, don't ask questions. When you're learning to communicate, questions actually kill the conversation. Why? Because questions create doubt. Questions create doubt for you, for the other person, and for kind of what the message is all about. Let me give you an example. When I say to somebody, why are you feeling like that? The message is, well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe there's something wrong with the way I'm feeling. And so they begin to doubt themselves. And they begin to question themselves. Questions also kind of put up a message of, you don't understand. And so what that's going to do is it's going to make them explain again and again and again and again. Because they feel like you're not getting it. You're asking this kind of dumb question. And they're just going to repeat themselves over and over again. It really kills the communication process. All right, here's a 5th one. Here's a surprise for you. I'm sorry. Saying you're sorry will actually kill a communication or kill a conversation. What? I've had so many women challenge me on this one because they're like, my husband never apologizes for anything. I've worked for years to get him to apologize. And now you're telling him, don't apologize? Well, let me tell you why. What apologies do is they end the conversation. You're hurt, you're frustrated, you're disappointed, and you're expressing your feelings, and the other person goes, sorry. Well, what are you supposed to do? Keep talking about how you're hurt, frustrated, disappointed? What are they going to do? They're going to go, I already said I was sorry. I already apologized. Why are you still going on about this? It kills the conversation. It stops the conversation from going any deeper. Sorry. So if you want to say sorry at the end of the conversation, if you want to say sorry after 10, 20 minutes into it, awesome. That's probably a really great thing. Use it as a period at the end of the sentence. But don't use it in the beginning because you'll kill the conversation. Now, I know what you're already thinking. What you're thinking right now is, okay, he's given us all the 5 communication killers. What do we do? How do we make our communication better? I'm with you. I got it. I know you're there. And the word is empathy, but I can't teach it to you yet. Why? Because you have to understand how change works. Change works in 3 phases, and you probably already know these 3 phases. First, you got to identify the problem, and that's what we're doing today. And then we have to interrupt the problem, and many times identifying it does already begin the disrupting process. So I want you to be aware of the problem. But then 3, then we can replace it. Well, we're not at 3. We're not there yet. You're just becoming aware of what the problems are. Now we have to interrupt them. And then we've interrupted them. Then we can replace them. And we're going to replace them with empathy. Now, if you want to learn more about empathy, subscribe. Because we're going to do more on empathy and other relationship, interpersonal, and intrapersonal kind of dynamics and systems. If you like this video, please like the video. And also make some comments. I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to hear your thoughts and reactions. Homework, remember, homework for you is to make sure you're becoming aware of these 5 communication patterns, these 5 communication killers. And call them out, point them out, be aware of them, start to interrupt them. That's going to be your homework assignment. Don't jump ahead to try and replace them yet. I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and you have been watching My 5 Minds. Take care.